I'm Shaughnessy McDaniel, and in this video, I'm going to give you tips for that all-important first step of starting a band or musical project, identifying your dream, and seeing how that dream will guide your real-world actions for getting your band off the ground. So, stick with us here on How to Band.
I'm going down, 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 where there's no sound, sound, sound. I'll never drown, 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 but die in glory. Now is the time to strike.
All right, thank you for joining us here on our inaugural episode of How to Band, where we're going to teach you how to start a band, how to make a band, how to build a band. So some of you may be thinking that starting with the dream seems a bit silly and that you should probably dive right in first and figure out the dream later. So before I tell you why you should think about this, let me give you a little bit of my resume, as it were. So, I've been a professional gigging musician in varying degrees almost my entire adult life. I started with a Blues Brothers tribute band when I was 18, and since 2010 have been in Northern Colorado Celtic folk band the Stubby Shillelaghs, which has seen pretty solid success both live and on the internet. Grossed a pretty decent amount of money with that band over the years. And of course, you see that I'm in the middle of launching my next major band, power metal band, Siege Perilous. So this series is going to include a nice mix of past experiences, youthful mistakes, and insight as I continue on this journey of getting a fledgling band in a semi-obscure subgenre off the ground. All right, so the dream and why it's important. I want you to take a minute and really think about what your goal is as a musician. Your main goal. Write it down or type it down somewhere. Remember that a goal should be measurable, achievable, and have steps. If you just say, I want to be a rich and famous musician, that vagueness will leave you without an actionable plan, right? You could build smaller steps towards that, but you kind of need to figure out exactly what that means. Let me give you an example of a goal for Siege Perilous. My initial goal was that I wanted to get up on stage and play heavy metal in front of an invested crowd. It's measurable, it's clear, and that's where the dream started. But that's not where it ended up, right? The initial goal was still part of that dream, but the dream built and evolved over time. This is a supernatural process that happens as you bring others into your project and get them involved, right? One of the coolest things, in my opinion, about having a band is having that shared goal and objective and finding ways to use everybody's strengths and skills to make that happen. Right? I'm super pleased to report that last December, I accomplished that first goal with 2 great shows here in Northern Colorado. It was super fun, right? While the dream evolved, that was a major marker that I'm heading in the right direction. So as you're contemplating your dream, right, and how your dream matches with some individual goals, I want you to think about a very important spectrum for being a musician. And that's what I would dub the art to business spectrum. Every musician moves along this spectrum, and it's also okay if you shift. Now, some people will tell you that to be a real musician, you need to be far onto the artistic side. I think if that's what you choose, that's great. It shows a dedication to making the kind of music you want to make. But if you're wanting to build a fan base, if you're wanting to go full-time or to grow into bigger venues, you have to move at least a little bit more onto the business side of the spectrum. This is the simple economic principle of opportunity cost. If you sink all of your time into the artistic side, you won't have as much time to do the marketing and hustling needed to really see your band or brand grow. I would say Siege, for example, is just to the left of center of this spectrum. We aren't trying to make this band a full-time income at the moment, as we all have decent jobs, but we are putting time into marketing and promotion that could, if we prioritized it as such, go into making more music. It's all about trade-offs, and don't let anybody tell you that wherever you choose to go on the spectrum is wrong. It just needs to match your ultimate goals. Working hard on getting paying gigs is not a crime, but neither is saying screw the money and really just focusing on what you're making. It's also okay for this needle to move somewhat and for parts of the year to be more dedicated to one than the other. Though I would advise against major shifts, as it may come off as inconsistent or inauthentic, which could lead to some questions or issues with your fan base. So, what goals did you start out with? Where would you place your priorities on the spectrum? Drop a comment below. Would love to see what other people think, what you're planning. And of course, please be sure to like and subscribe for future videos from us. Okay, so you've identified your dream. You have some sort of initial goal. And you've identified where on that art and business spectrum you at least want to start. You're getting there. It's a long process. The next part of kind of bringing your dream to fruition, right, materializing it, is to identify the resources you'll need. I think this is one of the reasons, not to like start a fight over genres and such, but I think why EDM and rap have become the major indie genres over the last 2 decades as personal recording tech has taken off. It's easy to be done alone or to be done just over the internet. However, that does mean that you're in a larger genre. Once again, everything has trade-offs, right? The series that we're doing here is mostly for bands, but if you're a solo act of some kind, there will still be tons of tips that will be applicable to you. So, what do you need? Do you have the gear you need to do your part of this plan? Once again, thinking of this in economic terms, let's look at the factors of production in terms of a band. So, the first factor of production is land. Where are you going to do all this? If you want to start a thrash metal band, but you live in a studio apartment, you're probably going to need to think about finding a practice space. Do you need to build a studio in your house, right? These are all possibilities. Okay, the second factor of production is labor. How many people will you need in your band? There's a lot one person can do by themselves in a studio, but unless you want to skip live, which I think is a bad choice for a variety of reasons, you need to really think about what you'll need. So this could be 2 lists. What I need to get the project going and what would be ideal. So Siege Perilous, for example, right now is at 4 members, the core we need to make music and play live, but we've also discussed the possibility of bringing in other people to give our sound new possibilities, especially live. Okay. The third factor of production is capital. Capital has 2 subcategories, human capital and physical capital. So, physical capital is, do you have the stuff you need to make this happen? Do you have guitars, amps, recording gear? Right? Try to start with the smallest list of these that you need to achieve your goal. You can always build this up later with fun, shiny, flashy tech. The second part is human capital. What skills do you have and what complementary skills might you need out of your future bandmates in order to really have a solid foundation? So some examples of that might be somebody who's really good at marketing, or somebody who knows how to do video, somebody who knows recording, photography, somebody who's good at talking to other people, right? These are all different skills, and very few people have all of these. Probably nobody has all of these really, really well. So I am going to talk about bandmates and getting the most out of them and being respectful to them in the next video in this series. The fourth factor of production is entrepreneur. So even if you're more on the art side of the spectrum than business, right, there's no wrong place to be, making music represents risk and cost. I know it's probably a super lame way to think about it, but if you really look into your decision-making process, you know that that's always part of it. Making music costs money, time, and there's always risks, whether that's dealing with venues, putting money into advertising, or just risks from various mental health issues like anxiety, burnout, stress, etc. So this is really just the very, very start of your journey, young grasshopper. Right? It's about thinking about what you want out of this musical project that you're starting and the basic steps that you'll need to get there. On the next video in this series, we're going to talk about finding band members and treating them well, the most important part, because one of the biggest band killers is constant holes in your lineup. I hope this video was valuable to you. If you need help getting your band off the ground and have questions, this is not me trying to sell you something. I will respond to comments. You can also email me at the address in the description below. I'm happy to give advice and try to help somebody make their band, make their dream come true. Thanks for watching, and have a heavy metal day.